all the owners.
They left.
They left. Okay. Hi, everybody. We're going to get started now. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to the annual owners meeting for 2025. I look forward to giving you an update on all things related to Tamarron and hearing your questions and having a good exchange. So I'm going to start by passing it to our secretary, Greg Collins, who's joining online today.
Thank you, Stacy. Just want to let you know that the meeting has been properly noticed and we do have a quorum. That's number one. And then number two, there's a set of minutes from the 2024 annual owners meeting that if you would ask everyone to make sure they took a look at and we could ratify those minutes.
Okay, we sent those minutes to owners in the last about a week ago, is that right?
Yes, they were on the website for quite a while. They were in Buildium and then we sent them out about a week ago.
Okay. And if Rick? Thank you, Rick. Do we have a second?
Eric.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from the last owners meeting?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right. We have some guest speakers today. Our first guest speaker with animal control hasn't arrived yet, so we're going to put him next in line, and we will instead hear from our insurance broker with USI, Shadia Ahmad, who's here to give us an update on our insurance situation. Shadia, and we have a microphone here. And Gary, we have a slide deck for Shadia.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Oh.
Good morning.
No. Oh yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Shadia Ahmad with USI Insurance. I'm delighted to be here with you in 3D this morning. Thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful community. I'm really pleased that we're going into our second renewal cycle with Tamarron and have been able to really collaborate really thoughtfully and intentionally with Bobby, with your board of directors, with your insurance committee on how we bring together the entirety of the insurance program. As I'm sure you guys look at your community financials, insurance is a big part of that. For many organizations these days, it's becoming the second or third largest item on profit and loss statements. So you guys are a part and parcel with that. What I'd love to get into today is a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace broadly from an insurance perspective, specific to property, as that's the majority of the premium that is spent for Tamarron. I'd like to chat through a little bit more about what's happening specific to the Tamarron program and what we can look forward to for the October renewal that lies ahead. And then will be time for questions as well. Thank you.
Excuse me for a second because I lost my mouse.
Okay. This is the joy of technology. It's supposed to make our lives easier. I'm not sure it always does.
No.
Think of how much ink it would have taken to print this presentation and make copies, though.
That's true. That's true. Always trade-offs.
Oh.
It's gonna be in somebody's way. I don't know what else to do. I'll move it when I can. It's gonna be in somebody's way.
You could probably slide over to the third page here.
And if anybody wants, I can email them the deck if you're having problems seeing it and would like, just send me an email and I'd be happy to forward it to you.
I'm advancing a couple slides. I think probably number 3. Great. Okay, so specific to the Colorado property insurance market, we are still in what's referred to as a hard market. And this is kind of a nice bell curve, if you will, of what happens between the hard and soft market. So many years ago, we all enjoyed reduced premiums, lots of competition in the marketplace, fluidity with underwriting and expectations of underwriting. And as we've moved over to this hardened marketplace, restricted underwriting kind of takes governance. So underwriters are looking for more quality of risk, better protection of risk, and therefore there are fewer competitors willing to insure for areas of certain property. There are fewer competitors, so supply and demand creates this adverse situation, and that of course drives up premium. Switch to the next. And of course, now as the pendulum swung into calendar year 2025, we can all recall seeing on our TVs all of these fires happening across the country. So more specifically, we know that the Palisades and Eaton fires in California really took a significant impact into the marketplace. They estimate right now at least $50 billion in insured losses. Uninsured losses well exceeds that. And when we look back at some other catastrophic weather trends that have happened in the country, convective storms, wind and hail. I think a lot of us think about Denver for hail. Unfortunately, as a Colorado native, it pains me to say we are now a catastrophic weather state. Historically, we would think about states like Florida with hurricanes as where we would expect catastrophic storms to happen, but now they're happening far more in places like Colorado. We've had significant magnitude earthquake, 7.7 magnitude earthquake happened in Myanmar. That was a global event that still impacts the domestic insurance marketplace. And so global insurers have been, dramatically taking rate as a result of all of these losses. But we are now hitting about year 10 of at least $100 billion in insured losses historically. So what that means is a little bit of actually what Joe and I were talking about earlier this week. With time and pressure, all things kind of come to equilibrium. So we've now kind of hit this stride in the marketplace where insurers are anticipating those losses and have priced for those losses and hitting kind of this new normal, if you will. So as a result, where we have single insurance carriers on an account or on a particular property profile, they're actually starting to have a little bit more capacity because they've anticipated and actuarially planned for these losses to occur on their balance sheet. As a result, people are seeing a little bit of rate relief. It's not significant in many cases, but we are seeing a flattening happening in the marketplace. And when positioned well and mitigation is anticipated and structured, then you can see even further reduction. The first part of 2025, we saw anywhere from 5 to 30% increases. That is now stabilizing as we've hit the second half of the marketplace. When you have, again, wildfire exposed accounts like Tamarron, that's also an area where we see some ongoing pressure. Sorry. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So as we now have the second half of the year, the competitive marketplace continues, and we're taking advantage of that specific to Tamarron. For organizations that really have thoughtfully mitigated risk, there is opportunity in the marketplace for improved pricing. That is tightening up now as we get into the fourth quarter of 2025. And we've also got some challenges in the marketplace as a result of tariffs. We don't know what the impact of tariffs is going to be, but what we do anticipate is that tariffs, not from a political standpoint, I don't say this, but from an economic standpoint, we know that the supply chain has not fully recovered over the last 5 years since COVID. And with these increased potential tariffs, the cost of replacement for any property that is damaged is going to cause an increase in cost of materials and ultimately staffing. So there still will be some impact, and we don't know exactly what that looks like yet. So carriers are treading lightly, and that's why we're seeing a little bit more compression in that rate relief into fourth quarter of 2025. That said, there's still ample capacity. We think about now the quality of a risk and how underwriters look at accounts. It's not that 15 minutes or less that we all see on our TV commercials. I promise you, it's a far more intense underwriting process. But when we take the time to really paint the picture to the marketplace, which is what my job is, A picture's worth 1,000 words. And so when I can paint the picture to your underwriters and explain to them the quality of Tameron, the really thoughtful capital investments that your board, insurance committee, your community has agreed to make, really protects the potential of a total loss here, they get excited about that and they want to insure your organization. That said, there are also challenges from an underwriting perspective. We still have to anticipate what metrics reflect. When we look at wildfire scores, we're in the 80s when we look at Tameron here. We do have short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are an Achilles heel when it comes to underwriting. Historically, right, think about when you use a rental car versus what you do with your own car that you own. Maybe we're a little less flippant about where we park a rental car. Maybe we're not so concerned about getting the trash out of the vehicle. We know that when people rent units, they are not nearly as considerate of that property as you are as a homeowner. So from a liability perspective, we get concerned about that, where they might be willing to smoke a cigarette that you otherwise wouldn't and flick that cigarette. Are they going to flush a Dixie cup down the toilet? Are there their grandkids who are visiting, right? These are things that unfortunately happen at rental properties. So it's got a lot of underwriting scrutiny from both a liability perspective as well as protecting and insuring for the property. I'm sorry, do you mind going back one more?
Yep.
Thank you. And then, what the other piece that we need to consider is our policyholders ensuring adequately to value. Again, with all of these economic and inflationary pressures that we've sustained over the last several years, many properties are inadequately insured. Insurers don't want to take on that risk. They want to make sure that you've got skin in the game as well. So ensuring to value an appropriate valuation is important. I can tell you, we undertook a pretty extensive thought process in the past year with your board and the insurance committee. We connected with another USI client, FCI Constructors, who has local footprint here in the Durango community and could really help us articulate from a price per square foot, what would it take to rebuild these buildings? And so we dialed in that number and got you adequately insured. And that number holds pretty true today. In addition to that, Colorado, this is a really cool thing that happened, and it moved through the House really quickly. In February of 2025, House Bill 1182 was introduced. It went through the 2025 regular session, was actually signed into law by the governor as of May 2025. What this law states is that insurers, they can use their actuaries, they can use all of their analytics and metrics, but they have to account for the mitigation efforts of any property owner. So when you have fully sprinklered buildings, when you've removed brush and ammunition that could accelerate a fire in your area, those types of things that cost you money, you deserve a credit as a policyholder. And so that has now been made law. Insurers have until July 1st, 2026 to enact that. There will be certainly thresholds and metrics that they're going to devise and articulate and have to have approved by the Department of Insurance Commissioner. But you will start to see further rate relief to come because of all the mitigation efforts that you've invested by law. Now the insurance carriers have to adhere to that. There is some more information available on the website of the legislature that you can take a look at here. And we'll learn more about that in the coming year. Thank you. The other piece that has become more ubiquitous in the insurance community are what we refer to as FAIR plans. FAIR is an acronym for fair access to insurance requirements. This is actually started more so on in the areas like Florida, and then California subsequently has built them. Colorado has now built a FAIR plan. And so many insurers from an underwriting perspective will articulate that there are limitations of what they're willing to insure, making some properties uninsurable. There are not carriers who are willing to insure them. The FAIR plan now responds to that. Their first insurance program came out to respond to single family homes or individual properties. And now they've issued a commercial product. Tameron is insured as a commercial policy. And so as a result, if in the event that Tameron became uninsurable for some crazy reason, $5 million of policy limits could be purchased through the Colorado FAIR plan. Now, it's only $5 million of coverage. But again, the idea right now is to launch this product and hopefully get some economies of scale over time. This product just launched in January 2025. The commercial product did not get made accessible until July 2025. So it is relatively new in the scheme of things. We hope we never have to use this, but I do want to make sure that you guys are aware that this is something that's available should the need come. And so when we speak now to more directly to the TACO program and what do we have in place? Right now, we have what we refer to as a shared and layered insurance program. And so for every layer of insurance, we have insurance carriers sharing risk in that layer, building up your full tower of coverage. Right now, there's 9 insurers representing TACO. So your first 10 million is split with 2 insurers, the next 30 million over that 10, 4 insurers, so on and so forth. One of the goals that we had when we walked into this renewal that we started really early for 2025's renewal cycle is how do we consolidate and condense this? One of the peer principles of how shared and layered towers work in the insurance marketplace is the majority of pricing that drives the entirety of your cost starts in this first layer. And so if we can optimize this layer and have fewer carriers, hopefully one, then we can hopefully do the same in the subsequent layers and get better pricing as we move up the chain. What we know is that the likelihood of a claim is going to happen down here. The cost to insurers is going to start at that first layer. And hopefully, especially given the spread of risk that we're over 4 miles here at TACO, we have the beautiful Glacier golf course that lies in between, all the mitigation efforts that you've undertaken, the likelihood of a complete loss is very unlikely. It's highly improbable. And so the carriers who sit at the top of this hopefully are never writing a check, but they're making you a promise that should something happen, they will. Pricing should reflect where they all fit into this schematic. So the goal is, first and foremost, how do we consolidate this and get some efficiency of rate? And then how do we continue to offer you options around the program?
Shannon, excuse me 1 second. We just got a message from somebody who's online that says it's still frozen on slide 1.
Oh.
Huh.
People online haven't seen the progression of slides.
That's what we're thinking.
Gary, we can email this out to anyone. I'd like to
Right.
continue, let Shadia continue
that's
while
fine
you
with
problem
me.
solve that.
How many people are online?
Go ahead, Shadia.
Do you mind flipping to the next slide?
Sure, hang on 1 second.
We'll post the file to Buildium too, so people can see it.
No, hang on.
Do we need the next slide? Or we got one ready
Sorry,
for?
we messed up his. Pressure.
No. I do not understand why it's doing this, but
Gary, are you able to forward it or?
Gary, well, I can see it now on the slide.
what are you seeing, Chad?
The stacking.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're ready for the next.
Yep, I can see it too.
Okay, just hang on 1 second. Don't understand why this is doing what it's doing.
Nope.
Good.
Now I'm back on the kitchen.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
You're
Yeah.
all right. Just letting you know.
I know.
Was pointing to the kitchen.
do have one question relative to the insurance. It may be answered in the rest of your slide, but while he's working. on
Certainly,
that,
happy to field the question.
do homeowners individual insurance for what I'm gonna call contents?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of requirement in this overall insurance property
I'll tell
owner
you what.
that is influenced by whether individuals have insurance or don't? Does your program look at how many of us are individually insured?
We all have to have insurance on our condominiums. That's a requirement.
Required by.
That's a requirement. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nobody
Okay.
cannot be
So
insured
that
here.
doesn't come into play with any of this.
It doesn't come into play. Where I would draw the caveat, and we will get to it, is with respect to loss assessment coverage. And if you do have a short-term rental, some things that we would recommend you discuss with your individual broker for your condo policies. and how you might want to inquire with them about the structure of your policies. But how you individually insure for your contents, which you each have in your units, that is not reflected in the program at an individual level. More broadly speaking, the things that we do look at are what type of amenities and how those are fixed within your property. So things like fireplaces, that matters to underwriting. So they want to understand that everyone that does have a fireplace here, it's a fixed flue gas fireplace. That's the kind of stuff that they look for. Wood burning terrifies them. Terrifies me. We don't want to see those. So that's the kind of thing that they look for in your individual units, but not necessarily how you're underwritten or covered. Great question.
Chad, can you see this now?
10-4. Well, I've got the stacking again.
Yeah.
We don't.
We don't.
Yeah,
No.
it's a beautiful background.
Uh,
Yeah, maybe.
Jesus.
Okay.
Good morning, Chad.
Good morning.
I'd know that voice anywhere. Are there any other questions about what I've covered thus far? I know I've been yapping at you here. Sir, yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, the question was, how is USI accommodating the law that was enacted in the FAIR plan? So kind of two things. First and foremost, the distinction about USI is we're a broker. So we act as the intermediary between you and your insurance carriers. It's my job to represent you in the marketplace and also let you know how the insurance carrier is responding to the inquiry of coverage. So we don't personally or directly take on any of the litigation, but it's our job to make sure you're informed about that so you can make empowered, thoughtful decisions. The other piece of that is because we've not yet seen the FAIR plan put into action in the marketplace and tested, we are leery to put our clients there. It's one of the things that we refer to as kind of carrier of last resort. So think about if you're somebody who may have a lead foot, guilty as charged, and you don't have a great motor vehicle record, you could be difficult to insure. So there are carriers who basically say, we're willing to take on those risky people and charge them accordingly. What we believe will happen with the FAIR plan is although they're willing to offer that coverage, we know it's going to come at a higher premium. They're still going to attempt to make that a little bit more accessible, but it's going to come at a really high rate. And then we don't know how they're going to adjudicate and ultimately settle claims. And so some of that is yet to be seen. And so we are hesitant to put any clients with the FAIR plan at this time until there is more case study that we can actually rely on as precedent and have better equipped response to those things, good, bad, and otherwise. They do. So the FAIR plan is in place. The House bill is on the deadline of January 1st, 2026. So the carriers must adhere to that. That is now governance. Department of Insurance Commissioner will not work with carriers, will not bless them as admitted carriers in the state of Colorado to offer Colorado businesses coverage if they do not adhere to that governance, that and many other legislative standards that we have in Colorado from an insurance perspective. What else? I saw another hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you say that short-term rentals affect our costs, like how much percentage-wise?
I wish I could quantify that for you. Every insurance carrier kind of has their own metrics and standards of how they apply rate against that, both from a general liability and a property perspective. It is not a linear number, unfortunately. What I can tell you is, again, it affects the underwriting indication of very quickly, are they interested in underwriting for you and pricing for it or not? But I couldn't give you a percentage. I know that's probably not your favorite answer, but it's a real answer.
It's more of an opportunity cost.
It's absolutely an opportunity cost. So what we know is if underwriting standards, I mean, underwriters love the black and white. So this becomes a gray area for them. So very quickly, when they see that short-term rentals are happening and how often they're happening, especially in mountain communities, they quickly can say no. What that does is takes the carrier out of the running as a competitive option for.
Right, because I have an HO6 policy on my one rental unit. When you tell them that you have it's a short-term rental, it's very, very small amount is added to it.
It's a small amount on an HO6 because all they're worried about is your immediate property. What we have to be worried about is what happens for Taco. So again, I'll give you the example of the Dixie.
People, please mute yourself.
I need someone to mute, please.
Susan Blanchard. No, please. And who else just came online?
So when it comes to the Dixie Cup example that I gave earlier, the reason that it's actually a real claim that we had. So I had this at a property client of mine in Dillon. It was a 5-story community association, and someone who stayed in the short-term rental flushed a Dixie Cup. We're not sure which of the units in that top floor got that Dixie Cup flush, but it then created a stoppage in the sewer system and created significant water overflow into the underlying unit. So unfortunately, gravity and water, you're not friends. And so it went down into every single subsequent unit, and the association had to then pick up that loss. And the reason the association had to pick that up is because they could not attribute in the flow of water where that Dixie Cup emanated from. We know it was a short-term renter because everybody on that top floor had short-term renters in their property. And so unfortunately, that's where the rubber meets the road when it comes to short-term rental challenges. Again, the other piece to think about when we think about wildfire, 90% of wildfires emanate from arson, some form of misuse and handling of appropriate fire safety. And unfortunately, that is an area that we know short-term renters are not concerned with. They don't have an awareness of where they should or shouldn't smoke, the safe areas to do so, and proper disposal. It's oftentimes a cigarette that's been flicked out of a window while they're driving down I-25, driving down 550. Those types of things happen, unfortunately, and that can emanate and create a significant impact.
So you said that 95% of wildfires is as a result of arson.
Human cause.
Arson connotes intent. Is that what you're saying? They're intentionally set?
We won't necessarily say intention. I don't want to assume intent.
But human caused.
But
Human
Human
cause.
caused.
yes,
Human
error.
caused.
Okay.
Exactly.
Better.
Do you mind flipping to the next slide? Okay, so when we had this conversation pretty early on with Tamaron, we started our renewal discussions about halfway into the policy year, because again, we know that this is a significant investment on behalf of the community association. So your board of directors exercises a really high degree of due diligence in this process. So I was asked for a few things. First and foremost, are there any alternative program designs that we can identify that will help optimize and create some capital efficiency for Taco? How do we maximize the time in the marketplace and make sure that we get every carrier to turn this rock over with us and take a look at Taco and consider insuring you? Of course, reduce costs. Wherever we can reduce costs, that we'd like to do so. And then how do we continue to discuss how we're optimizing your risk profile? Again, this is an area that I really want to celebrate with you guys. Your board of directors, Bobby and his team, you guys are spending a lot of time and resources. And Lisa, I mean, there's so much work that's being done here to optimize how the marketplace views Tamaron. And this comes in a lot of forms. What I can tell you is back in May, our risk safety consultant at USI, a gentleman named John Frommer, joined me. We spent a good day with Bobby, about 4 hours in session with Stacy as well, doing disaster recovery planning. So we know you guys have undertaken all these mitigation efforts, but heaven forbid that the worst happens. How do we get you out of here safely? How do we communicate that to you? Where do you guys go? How do we protect the structures? And what is that total enterprise response plan? So much to our delight, you guys had a significant amount of this dialed in. So I came right at the beginning of May, and you guys had just had your emergency sessions and response planning time in late April. I understand I missed it again here by a day this week, but you guys had already done it again this week. That is huge. I can tell you, I work with businesses every single day who insure for a potential loss, but they don't actually plan for when the rubber meets the road, when the unthinkable happens. So you guys are light years ahead in that regard, and that's music to underwriting's ears. In addition to that, you guys were also implementing Buildium at that time. Buildium as a platform to consolidate and secure your information and to allow real-time communication back to you as unit owners and on-demand information, a significant boon in your cap. This not only applies from a property perspective and liability perspective, but also cyber liability. Cyber liability has unfortunately become far more commonplace because hackers and the process of what unfolded during the timeline of COVID, technology is utilized far more by businesses, making you a target. And so all of these things kind of coming together really help optimize your risk profile in the marketplace. So we agreed, right? We were going to utilize USI. The way that we're different in terms of most of your other brokers that you engage with is that we have proprietary data and analytics. We have a complete team of essentially actuaries who undertake and look at your property analytics before it goes to an underwriter. So I can look at those analytics with our actuaries and anticipate and understand what an underwriter is going to see when they put it into their system. So we proactively have that dialogue on your behalf. The other piece is we have our own proprietary technologies at USI where we see what's happening for similar risk profiles across the country. USI is the 6th largest national broker in the country, and we have about 10,000 employees, over 200 offices. Every single person that makes up USI puts information into this database, so I can get on-demand, real-time information about solutions, insurance carriers, structure and program design at my fingertips. And so we utilize all of that information before we go out into the marketplace. So I've committed that to your board and to you as unit owners. We promised that we would figure out ways to optimize your program design. Of course, to continue to support you from a risk management perspective by bringing out our safety consultants and helping fill in any gaps where we can improve coverage, whether that's through improved limits, deductible structures, clauses, or exclusions in your policy. And then, of course, give you comparison of program design for your empowered decision making. Do you mind flipping to the next slide, please? Thank you. So where are we? All this sounds really great, but where are we today? So I'm really pleased to tell you we are out in the marketplace. We've been in the marketplace for the last few months, and we've got submissions out to over 50 insurance carriers specific to the property portion of the total program. Unfortunately, many of them thus far have declined to quote, and the reasons for declination come in for a few forms. Short-term rentals, we've kind of touched on that quite a bit here. Your total insured value, the total building portfolio for Tamarron is about 95 million in insured value. A lot of underwriter boxes don't allow them the full capacity there, which speaks to their lack of capacity. And then again, wildfire scores. It is one of those areas where once that number pops, they have a hard line, and their underwriting governance or reinsurance requirements prohibit them from offering coverage. Do you mind switching to the next slide? Thank you. But here's where the other carriers who are still interested are spending their time and energy, and what's reflected. Again, you guys have really thoughtfully taken on mitigation. Mitigation is the name of the game when it comes to cat losses. And so when we think about the sprinklers that are throughout the association, that you're surrounded by an irrigated golf course, when I looked at the pictures of Gamble Oak with Bobby, the before and after of all the tree removal that had occurred, that's significant. That talk about a picture worth 1,000 words. Underwriting was delighted to see that. So all that ammunition being cleared up was significant. I'm forgetting the technical term of the pheromones that were applied to your trees. Verbenone. Yes. Even that alone, right? Protecting what you do have and ensuring that stays healthy and not turning into ammunition. Huge. In that session that we spent time with Bobby, we also make recommendations. When we see an opportunity to improve and mitigate potential losses, we make those recommendations. And so there was a few places where we saw some gas storage that needed proper hazmat and gas protected storage. Bobby had ordered them, I think, before I got on my flight back to Denver. So these types of things you guys are undertaking, and they're really, really thoughtfully implemented. So we're doing this ongoing risk control. You guys have your 5-year plan with regard to your fire protection system and how those alarms work. All your ongoing work with the local jurisdictions, adaptive wildfire, and just these pieces make underwriters far more comfortable with Tamarron than they would otherwise, just based on indicators that they would see in their system. You can flip to the next page, please. Again, I've talked about the disaster recovery planning session that we've done, our early marketplace efforts, and the ongoing investments that you guys continue to make. Some of the other things that were really nice to for underwriters to see is, again, even the new locks. The new locks are a significant piece for something. If something were to emanate in a unit and maintenance needed to get in there, the stability of that access is significant. Your ongoing automation efforts, things like Buildium and the subsequent networking that I know you guys are looking to consider, those are really important when it comes to protecting the community, protecting the assets of the community, the intellectual property and financials. All of this information speaks to what underwriting wants to see about a community. What I can tell you at least at first blush, we're really, because we were so early in the marketplace, we were able to get some initial quotes in, and we're coming in at least 10% less than expiring on premium. When you have a 7-figure insurance spend, 10% is something that really, really celebrates. So we're delighted. And that's just first cursory blush. We still intend to go in there and negotiate those numbers. And we're really hoping that we can get that number closer to 15%. What that allows you guys to do is consider some other program designs. Currently, we're insured at a $75 million total loss limit because, again, the likelihood or probability of a total loss for the property is very, very, very low. If you guys decide to take on the full insured limit, we believe we can insure for that amount less than expiring today. It'll get you that additional $20 million in coverage for less than the total spend today. So we're really happy so far with the results and expect that only to further be optimized as we spend the next few weeks in the marketplace negotiating on your behalf and in collaboration with your board. So something really to celebrate. You guys have all made really thoughtful decisions and your board is operating as solid fiduciaries on your behalf. So I want you to celebrate what you guys have accomplished thus far. Let me switch to the next page, please. So the last piece that I want to touch on is, what really I would encourage you guys to have as conversations with your individual brokers for your HO6 policies. Loss assessment is one of these areas that we know can bridge the gap should the unthinkable occur. Loss assessment coverage would apply if and when an insurance claim or an insurable event happens and there's not adequate funding for deductibles or total cost of a loss. On average, most insurance carriers will offer you a quick $10,000 in loss assessment coverage. Some will offer you far more than that. We would recommend that you consider $50,000 of loss assessment coverage. The juice is usually worth the squeeze. We're usually talking $10 to $50 annually on your personal insurance policy, depending on which insurance carrier you're with and your historical performance and loss history individually. But this is an area of coverage that you should bolster. In the event that you do not have loss assessments, that you become informed that your association board intends to make a special assessment, add the coverage. Most insurance carriers will allow you to add that coverage until it's officially been assessed. So have the conversation now. Insurance is not one of those things that you want to be thinking about when the worst happens. You want to be talking about it now when it's not happening. The other piece is if you do have a short-term rental and you are utilizing it as such, please make sure that your insurance carrier is aware. A lot of folks, their insurance carrier policy forms, depending on which carrier you're with, may exclude that action unless you've disclosed it to your carrier proactively. So you don't, again, want to be in a situation where something happens in your unit and you find out you're actually not covered for short-term rental. So have those conversations. If you do need support in that, USI does have a phenomenal personal risk team. I'm happy to connect you with those folks, but I would encourage you to just have a conversation initially with your individual broker. The next page, which I know that the board will share this out, but the next page is some important questions that you can use as a guide to facilitate that conversation with your individual broker. I've yapped at you guys a lot about insurance. It's not fun and sexy, but I'm happy to answer any other questions I can help fill in the gaps on for you guys. Yes, sir.
So all of the proactive stuff that Michael's been doing, which sounds great, it was summarized in a sheet. What's been done was great. If all of us were able to send that to our individual insurance companies, I think it could help reduce our in cost.
It's possible. I would say, again, talk to your broker about those things that you guys have been doing. I'm happy to help summarize that. What I can tell you we do in the marketplace, and this is where I'd encourage you to talk to your broker about their process. We actually put together, through all of my visits, my ongoing dialogue with your board members, your insurance committee, with Bobby, we put together what we refer to as a narrative in the marketplace that tells the story about Tamaron. Within that, we made a 25-page report following our visit in May, where we included photographs and a lot of the nuance and details about Tamaron. In addition to your most recent newsletter at that time, you guys had a great newsletter that showed some of those pictures about Gamble Oak and the emergency response plan that was tested with La Plata. There was a lot of things that you guys accounted for in that document that, again, really helped the marketplace understand how seriously you take fire mitigation. And that's what we sent into the marketplace to really help them understand all the things that you've undertaken. HO6 policies are governed really on the basis of what is your primary community insuring for, and we know that that's well covered, and the bylaws ultimately of the document. Then they get into the nuance of your individual units. Do you have marble flooring, laminate, vinyl plank, whatever that may be? So some of that nuance comes in, and so that's where some of the variability. Also, your personal articles, artwork, firearms, those types of things that you might have scheduled in your personal policies. But it's always important for them to understand how well protected your structure is and the outstanding work that Tamaron has done. If you guys would like something like that you can circulate to your individual brokers, I'd be happy to produce that for you. Great question. What else? Are you all wiped out talking about insurance? Fair enough. I really appreciate the support. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe I missed it. No, one thing you didn't mention was our new roofs.
Yes, your beautiful new roofs. That was something that we got into the marketplace early last year because they were well completed into 2024. And so we had already articulated that. One of the things that we made sure that they further understood was actually the warming system that sits on the lodge and how that prevents the snow and melt from falling. So that has been well codified with underwriting. Great question.
Shadia, I have a question.
Yes.
So I had a homeowner ask me yesterday, and I thought they were going to bring it up today in question, but we prohibit gas grills in the individual outlying units. But that homeowner said that they had seen something where with the metal roofs, this might not be an issue. Gas grills may be not such a big stigma now. Is that true?
The question's about gas grills and if they are still frowned upon. Given that we have metal roofs, are gas grills frowned upon and electric is the best option?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they hate grilling.
Okay.
Underwriters hate grilling.
Okay.
Electric is a little bit more palatable, but the idea of, again, an open flame is really what gets to that. So underwriting still, irrespective of roof, given the wildfire score here, they do not want to see gas grills.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
think that list that you're going to give to our personal insurers, someone over here mentioned it. I mentioned to my personal insurance that we had new roofs and they didn't know it.
Yeah.
And they were very impressed with knowing that. So that list will be important to everyone.
They only know what you tell them.
Yes.
That's right. And they're local, they're in Durango.
Doesn't make a difference. They don't know our property. Yeah.
And they did not.
Yep.
So that'll be good. When Shadia sends that, I'll have it put on Buildium and have a notification sent out to everybody that it's available.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean the gas grills will be removed on the north side of the lodge?
No, that we were just asking for individual units on the outlying property.
In controlled spaces and controlled areas, again, we know as an example, there's the smoke area near the lodge where now you've got, proper receptacles for disposal, fire extinguisher, where we have designated areas for certain activities that are well controlled and maintained by the association. It's a very different underwriting perspective than individual properties having those items. Fair question. Yes, sir.
Gary, I'm not sure if this is a work question or a question for you. The renters that are renting units in the outlying areas that smoke on the back porch, is there anything prohibiting that at all?
Underwriting doesn't like it is what I can certainly tell you. I'll defer to your board about that.
Now, with the individual owners that are renting these units out, people are smoking, do they have anything that will wherever they would prohibits that from occurring in their unit while they're renting.
Yeah.
Because there's a renter next door to us. They're constantly supposed to on the back porch to do another thing to the back porch that, you know, we don't really.
No,
That's a board,
horrible,
that's a board, that's a
horrible
board
things.
question and
And some
addressed
some people have suggested that we have a no smoking
property.
property. And the property managers managing the renters are supposed to tell them no smoking, but that's, you know, that's part of what she was saying about the risk with renters is they don't have the level of concern for the well-being of the property that the property owners have.
And that's my point, but that reduce our insurance costs prohibited
If we were a non-smoking property.
smoking in the outlying area.
What we would be able to do is enforce the rules and with the health and safety rules, unfortunately, I think you're allowed 72 hours to cure that. And usually by then the renter's left and that's the cure. It's really a conundrum to try to enforce, but if you see it, report it to us and we'll do it. And we do it by notifying the owner that they are in violation because they're responsible for the behaviors of their guests. And it's their violation and it will be their fine if the behavior continues. And so reporting to the Rules and Regs Committee, we have a pretty robust committee now and we're working hard, but we don't know what we don't know. So we need people to tell us when they see something that is a concern to them.
I can also tell you, so I got all the renter communication and it is explicitly outlined, you are not to smoke on property. In addition to that information, when I arrived, it actually told me about what's happening in La Plata, the stage 2 burn ban that was happening. So there's a lot of great communication that comes, but it is incumbent upon each of us as individuals. And this is something I say to every community that I collaborate with. If you see something, say something. It's still one of those rules that actually protects everybody. If you see something happening on your property, especially as owners, talk to your neighbor, talk to your board. That communication goes a really long way. It's just the same as a manufacturing plant. The employees become the eyes and ears of the organization and keep that safety culture. You as individual unit owners can impact that as well. Anything else I can help answer?
Will you be here for the whole meeting?
I'm gonna stay for the whole meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shadia. And I will have some Q&A at the end. So if you come up with a question, jot it down and we can ask at the end. Yeah, that's an option course, of course.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Shadia. Okay, our next guest has joined us from La Plata Animal Control. Officer Cox, do you want to come up? Watch out for the you might do best coming around this way. We had an incident with 2 dogs who didn't behave themselves. We've had some periodic problems. Otherwise, there was some confusion about what authority the board has to mitigate these situations, what authority lies with the county. And so in researching that out, I talked with Officer Cox, who said that one of his main parts of his job is helping people get along in their neighborhoods and understanding how it all works. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity to have some owner education. And thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I better turn this on. My name is Officer Cox with Animal Protection here in La Plata County. So I want to talk about dog at large here in the county. That is described as not having immediate control. You don't necessarily have to have a leash on. You need visual control or you need sound control. If your dog is down at the river, you can't see, you can't hear, your dog is at large. As far as the leash laws here on the property, we can't really enforce those, but we can help come and give guidelines and help in instances where a dog's at large and a bite occurs. We can step in, we can do a quarantine protocol, we can do updates on the dog, we can make sure that that person was in control of the dog or wasn't and cite accordingly or see what we have to do that way. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I wanted to say that when this came up, between two dogs, they were both on leash. There was a scuffle. One was deemed a little more aggressive than the other. I've seen my dog with that behavior, and one just seems to give the other the stink eye, and next thing you know, they're snarling. But in concerns for this, there were questions about reporting to animal control when an incident happens.
Okay, as far as reporting goes, it usually needs to be the victim or the defendant. A third party who saw it from a balcony is always helpful as a witness statement, but it's not going to hold up in court as a statement. I need reports to be from one of the parties that it happened to, and we can cite accordingly. As far as vicious goes, that's not something I can come out and say, yep, that dog is vicious. That is a court hearing that has to happen. We present evidence. I go to the defendant, I go to the victim. We present that to the court. The court has to deem that dog vicious. And once that has happened, that dog can no longer be in city limits, some other things. But out here in the county, as far as interacting in a community, that dog would need to be removed from the community if it's deemed vicious. So if you have a bite, if you have an instance where a dog attacks you, please report it to us. We're here to help you, and we're hands-on. We won't just put you on a voicemail and give you a call a couple weeks later. We'll show up, get a report, see if you're okay, and accordingly cite or see what we have to do as far as a court hearing or what the next steps are.
What's best practice?
As far as
Community, dwelling, and dogs.
best practice as far as
Living together as neighbors who are, many are in a 5-story lodge building.
Okay.
And have dogs.
Communication is key. I mean, we have to help each other in a community like this. It's not one person, and it's not usually one person that can fix it. So leashes are awesome. Leashes are great. They save so many bites and other attacks every single day that I see. If you really don't want a leash, I would suggest leashing your dog till you get to a good location to where you can take your dog off a leash. Close quarters, hallways, as you're coming out of these buildings, that's where most of these bites happen. Or accidents, stepping on a paw and a redirect bite, stuff like that happens all the time. So just work with each other, and we're here to help in any ways that you can't come to an agreement. But leashes are great. Harnesses are even better. They have harnesses with handles, which are absolutely great for those littler dogs. What else am I missing for you guys?
We do have a rule, and so that's where our limit, because I spoke to our attorney too. Our limit of authority lies with enforcing our rules. So if you have two dogs both on leash who get into a scuffle or a dog fight, then the association can verify that our rules were not broken. We have a rule about leashes. We don't have a rule about specific dog behavior because that authority lies with the county. And as Officer Clark said, labeling a dog as vicious involves going to court. I mean, it's nothing that the association would have the power to do. And it's really important that if you are concerned about a dog and your dog is involved in an incident, report it. Report it, because the only way animal control will know if there's a problematic dog is if it starts getting reports about the dog.
And a lot of times we'll have an instance where a dog, will have an accidental bite or something, and they won't report it because they don't want the dog taken. They don't want them to be cited. Those are our friends. We don't have to show up guns blazing, taking dogs, citing people. We work closely with all the health departments here in the county. We do a bite report, we do a quarantine, and we don't have to do necessarily anything after that as long as it isn't a reoccurring situation. If it's a reoccurring situation, if this dog is aggressive towards people, that's a different situation where we can step in. We can say, hey, I think you're probably right. I want to submit this to the court, and the court will decide if that dog is deemed vicious or or not. And again, out here in the county, I don't have an ordinance where I can come cite for someone not having a leash. You're allowed to do that as long as you're under voice control. It's called immediate control. If something happens with your dog, you need to be able to either audio, say, hey, come here, a snap, any type of signal to that dog to get him back to you. If you can't do that, then your dog's at large.
But not on our property. On our property, it has to be leashed. What about dog bites? You've talked about human bites, but what about in the scuffle when one dog bites another?
Dog bites versus another dog. It's usually a civil matter. In this county, a dog is property. If your property was injured by someone else's dog, we can usually step in and at least try to contact, this person's not reaching out to me. I just want them to know this is my vet bill. We can step in and say, hey, this is the vet bill. Are you willing to cooperate? And if they're not, then we'll step in and we'll do a summons. And both parties will go to court. You'll present in front of the judge and they will make a determination on compensation and who owes who what.
And so one thing that's important to the board that there was confusion on is none of those actions can be initiated by us. We can't get your vet bill and ask the other owner to pay it. We can't tell somebody their dog is vicious. We can't call animal control and have them come out and remove a dog because we feel it's vicious. The board's power lies in enforcing the rules it has about dog behavior. Everything else needs to go to the county, and that starts with a report. And so we just really encourage people, if they have what they consider a vicious, aggressive dog incident, to report it to the county and find out what their rights are. Because it doesn't lie with our office and it doesn't lie with the board. In this last incident, our office got a lot of calls. I got a lot of reach outs. What are you going to do? And I would tell people the owners involved have to talk to the county. I don't have any power here. So that's why I really wanted the education, so that if you're involved in something, you understand what rights you have and what actions are required of you. Any more questions? How about our bears in Gamble Oaks?
If you could explain to everybody here so that everybody understands, bears are cute. And we want to see them from a very far distance. But if there's a baby bear, that means there's a mama bear. And you know what happens when a mama bear's out there.
They can get extreme. These black bears, they aren't like grizzlies. They're not going to come and look for you. They're looking for food. They're looking for your trash. They're looking for your fridge. This time of year, they're trying to put on some extra weight because it's about to get cold, especially the ones with cubs. Again, I'm not saying to try to shoot at them, rush them out of the surrounding neighborhood, because most likely they've learned to survive in this area. They've been here for a while. If you push them completely out, she might lose a cub or not be able to sustain those cubs anymore. As far as running up and taking pictures or seeing a treed bear, I recommend highly you don't do that. Again, these bears they're more scared of us than we are them, obviously, but attacks can happen, especially when you're dealing with a mama bear with some cubs. Just keep your distance. If you see one, they are fun to look at. I recommend just going another way, keeping your animals away from them. Stuff like that. I've seen some mama cubs try to redirect on a dog just being a little too close and stuff like that. So again, be careful, protect yourselves, and try not to take too many pictures and get close.
And the dogs incite them.
What's
The
that?
dogs can incite the bears because the
Absolutely.
dogs are barking and they don't know what they're seeing. So that incites them all.
And your dog probably smelled that bear before you ever saw it. So if your dog's acting funny, just read the room a little bit. You might have a bear in the area. What was the question?
We do have questions. David, if you unmute yourself, ask your question.
Yeah, I appreciate the clarification on the dog issue, and I understand it's a complicated issue. What I'm more concerned about actually is the abuse of the emotional support dog policy by renters or non-owners. As I read it, almost any, and this isn't for the officer, it's probably more for Stacy and the board. But as I read it, any renter or guest could just provide a letter that says, I have an emotional support dog, and we're required by law, is that right, to allow them to stay indefinitely?
That is correct. It is an issue, especially for our agency. What breaks that is I usually ask, what is that dog helping you with? What can you not do in your daily routine that your dog is helping you do right now in this situation? If you're at a park throwing a ball to that dog is not a service dog. If you are playing with that dog and having a great time, that dog is not a service dog. So that's ways around it. We find, a dog in a dog park, loose, running, the guy's throwing a ball. This is my service dog. What service is that dog providing you off leash in a park? And they can't give it. So I will give a dog at large citation. Go ahead.
What if you can tell everyone what we can ask of an owner or a renter that has a service dog?
Again, this usually should come from someone with a little bit of authority. But you can ask them what services does your dog provide you? What services is your dog providing you right now? Stuff like that. Like if you obviously see that dog's running around causing a nuisance, that's the question to ask. What service does your dog provide you right now? And obviously, if that's broken, that's not a service dog. It's very easy to slap a vest on a dog. That's all they have to do. They don't have to go get a letter from anybody. That dog usually doesn't have to have any certain type of training. So it is a nuisance because it's happening with these dogs with no training, they just don't listen to the owner. They're actually a nuisance to society, and they're saying they're protecting and doing that job that they're just not doing. So
what recourse do we have if somebody says their dog is a service dog but it's causing problems? We could call you.
Absolutely. Say, I have someone here. It seems like their service dog is not providing any services, yet they're using the service dog kind of cheat code there. And we'll step in and we can obtain if they have any papers or stuff like that, and we can deem that dog not a service dog pretty easy.
Okay, I just have one follow-up, if I may. Regarding the difference between a service and an emotional support dog. Does an emotional support dog have to wear a vest like a service dog for the blind and others? They're deemed service and they go through a process, but an emotional support dog, you could just say it's here to keep me from getting nervous around people or whatever.
That is correct. That's the biggest one we deal with is this is my emotional support dog. And it's actually the other way around, really. It's more, it's for your emotion. It's that is a tough one to get around, and because when you get to mental health and stuff like that, it's hard to say what someone's feeling and what they can and can't do without an animal. Again, it's a gray area, honestly. I don't have an absolute answer where you can have a absolute A or B answer. So I apologize.
Well, thank you for the time. I appreciate you showing up and the board giving it this issue. Thank you.
You got a question in the back?
Yes, sir.
I think it's I saw a sign that said it's against the law in Colorado. This represents your animal as a service animal.
That's one of these things we're trying to come up with and bring to the table to kind of break down this is my support dog with no paperwork, no training. We've got to come up with, so yeah, that the hospitals and stuff like that, even I think outpatient rehab centers, they no longer allow service animals to be inside just because it's getting abused. It is not black and white. There is lots of gray, and we deal with it every day. So I'm sorry I can't give you guys a direct, absolute answer there.
So I have that sign, Eric, you sent it to me. It was at the hospital. It says service animals specifically trained to perform a task or service for a person with a disability are welcome in Animas Surgical Hospital. Pets and assistance, companion, and emotional support animals that are not specifically trained to provide a service are not allowed. So that location says a service dog is allowed, emotional support is not.
And that's great. I think they labeled that beautifully to try to put their own difference in between the two. As far as an agency, we don't have an absolute line where this dog's emotional support, it does this. These dogs over here, they do this. It's all in the same basket.
So we can look into that for Tamarron and renters, that we have to, according to Fair Housing and ADA, accept service dogs, but do we have to accept emotional support dogs?
Even the definition, service dog. Someone fine. They go for like 3 months of training.
Yeah.
We could define it as anybody who's had more than 10 days of official training.
Yeah.
You got, I mean, I'm just making up a
Yeah.
number, but.
No, and then
Define a service dog.
absolutely. And then some of those dogs also have to do some sort of training in between. They don't just get off the hook. Okay, you're a service dog for life. Good luck. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion there. And go ahead.
Can't hear you.
Small dog, off leash. Small dog, served up a bear. Dogs. That's. It's not from the.
Yeah.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I wish our ordinance was actually out in the county as well, not just the city. But there's only so many things we can do, and it's honestly it's just loopholes that we kind of have to jump through. If they would make it just universal for everybody in this county, it'd be great. But it's labeled differently, so we have to approach it differently. And out here in the county, it's you're allowed to be off leash. So
Okay, any more questions?
go ahead.
Bear, is there a policy for like when a bear gets removed?
It is. So for bears, we used to have a bear resource officer with us who just strictly dealt with bears. That was kind of pulled back away from us and went to the sheriffs. So you guys can call us for any bear issues. We'll help you out, point you in the right direction, show up. But the sheriffs is really who you want to call for any bear real situations. And I apologize. Can you repeat your question? I believe it used to be 3 interactions with the community and they would try for a relocation. Since that has changed over to the sheriffs, I had no clue if they even relocate, if they have the resources to relocate. I am not sure there.
Our Bobby gets in touch with who is it?
Yeah, I was in touch with the DOW this morning. They actually brought me some rubber bullets. They won't come up and set a trap unless the bear gets into a unit, gets into a car, rips the side panel off a car, like we had last year at the lodge. We had one get in back of a truck and open the topper. He ripped the side panel off of a Freightliner van. We smelled food in there. When they get to that point, they'll come up and set a trap and get rid of them. If we have them down here, he suggests, we shoot them with the rubber bullets. They will leave. They don't want to come back because it's painful. I can't shoot every bear, but we do have 3 or 4 of them that are hanging down there because of the acorns and the oak cherry trees. So like he said, they're fun to look at, but just leave them alone, if you would, please. So,
What constitutes an interaction? Is that
yeah, they get aggressive like that, or they get into your unit. Last year we had one climb through the window. I think they left her front window open by the front door, but tipped over the close coat the coat crack. She woke up and chased an island through it. So, they set a trap out there the next day. You were able to catch him, but it come back fluctuating. So
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Officer Cox, for coming. Any questions, you can reach out to La Plata Animal Control, and Officer Cox is always very helpful. Next, I just was notified, do we have to be out by noon?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
Bobby, we'll let you go next with fire
It's
safety.
soft, isn't it?
It's soft.
It's soft,
But-
it's soft noon, yeah.
Okay, my goal today was to try and introduce our owners to what I do all year. And like Shadia said, fire mitigation is number one on our list. Okay, we've done a lot of it, but I work a lot with Steve from Underwood Forestry, Alex from Wildfire Adaptive, Rob from County EMS, and Corey from Glacier. Corey and I started working together last year. It's been awesome. I mean, basically everything that they're doing, we've adopted. Everything that everybody he knows, I know. And it's been a great partnership. He introduced me to the Verbenone and the MCH that we put on not all of our ponderosas and Doug firs, but when he introduced me to that, I didn't know about it. Shadia didn't know about it. We spent a couple $1,000 this year on it. It's about 75 to 80% effective. So what it does is it puts off a pheromone to the beetles that the tree's already infected. So they move on. So if we lose trees here, our fire risk goes up huge. Okay, so to do every tree would be very, very expensive, but we kind of pick and choose the ones we really don't want to lose. We've had very few beetle hits on property, maybe 3 or 4. I'm hoping that the pheromone that we put out deterred them to attack the other trees, but I don't know. But I'm going to let each one of these guys kind of talk about what we do together throughout the year. We've already started this year on next year's fire mitigation, working with these guys. So I'm going to start with Corey and give it a short talk.
Hello, my name is Corey Heron. I am the Glacier Landscape Manager and Fire Mitigation Manager. So I just, like Bobby mentioned, we've been working closely together over the since last season on some of these initiatives. Glacier is building our wildfire protection capacity and adapting to the changing forest conditions with a holistic approach. We've had dry, warm conditions. We didn't get the snow. And we've been seeing some beetle activity. So we just wanted to dig down into that over the last few years and figure out what exactly is going on. We're engaging with government agencies like the County Office of Emergency Management with Rob Farino. We're working with nonprofits like with Alex Groff and Wildfire Adapted, and increasing our contracted work with, we also use Steve Underwood with Underwood Forestry and our in-house fire mitigation capacity. Focusing on tree health is more of a regional issue, certainly community-wide in the valley. And so we're taking that approach and educating residents on why they should try to protect their trees on private glacier properties, and certainly doing a lot of work on the community property. We've been working with Ryan Cox with the Colorado State Forest Service, and the Colorado State Forest Service does not manage their own property. They work as an entity to help other government agencies and private property owners manage their properties. So as many of you know, as you cross the bridge coming up on 550 over the railroad tracks, there was a large project there where the logs were, they used the train to bring the logs out to Rockwood. Ryan Cox planned and managed that project, and he's very motivated to work north through the English Ranch, some Forest Service land by the CDOT yard across the highway, and up through the Rockwood communities, Glacier, Tamarron, and all the way up to Chris Park, and try to really get this whole area fire safe and in better condition, and certainly improve forest health. So Glacier views this as a community-wide effort, working with all HOAs in the area. And certainly when we're working with government agencies and nonprofits whose goal is to keep us all safe, they encourage that approach. We've worked with Underwood Forestry for a number of years. They just completed a 3-year project below our Pine Ridge and Crescent Ridge subdivisions in 2024. And then earlier this year, with the little bit of snow we had, through a long process of permitting, Steve was able to burn around 70 piles out of that area that he had created over the 3 years before. So we feel that that was a very successful fire mitigation effort. And we're also able to use the funds that Glacier spent on that for Ryan Cox, who's bidding neighboring projects as like matching neighboring fire mitigation funds. So there's many benefits to this work. Glacier is also working on our in-house fire mitigation program, and we're increasing it significantly in 2025. We applied for a grant with Rockwood Estates for a high-capacity wood chipper, which we were successful in 2024 in being granted. And we've purchased that chipper and are doing neighborhood chipping days, fire mitigation work, and any beetle removal trees that we see. So that's been a great effort there. As I mentioned, we've engaged with the Colorado State Forest Service, not just for what I mentioned, but also for a forest management plan for all common forested areas of Glacier in 2025. So they've surveyed the property this summer and are going to implement a plan, which is basically a 10-year plan to treat all forested areas in Glacier. So that is going to be a process where we prioritize areas and then work forward with in-house and contracted fire mitigation work. One of the first areas for contracted fire mitigation work that we'd like Steve to work with Steve and Alex with Wildfire Adaptive Partnership and the Colorado State Forest Service is the area that basically spans from below the lodge, east of the lodge, along behind Pine Cones. So that is a huge priority on our part to get that area cleaned up and deemed treated for fire mitigation efforts. Let's see. Glacier is part of the Wildfire Adaptive Partnerships Neighborhood Ambassador Program. And with that, we also not only will they do site assessments for our common areas, but also work on our privately owned lots and give fire mitigation effort and matching funding if it's available for contracted fire mitigation work there. Bobby's kind of spearheaded our coordination with Rob Farino in the County Office of Emergency Management, as you all know well, with the fire drills. That seems super successful to really get that emergency planning in place. So we're thankful to Tamron for kind of getting that ball rolling, and it seems like it's been a really successful year. And this week we had a really great drill and sign up for those rapid tags and just between that and people signing up for Code Red, a lot more signed up for Code Red in this area. It seems like that was very, very successful. So, in closing, Glacier is committed to making this a fire safe community. We understand that it's going to be a years-long process, but we're doing everything to stay ahead of that fire threat. We have a water truck available for our staff and for Tamron maintenance staff available at any time to take to any immediate fire situation. And we also have our member services staffed in our gatehouse 24/7 for an immediate managed response to any structure or wildfire that would occur.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be brief. My name is Rob Farino. I work for Office of Emergency Management. We do 5 things in emergency management. Number 1, prevention. 2 is mitigation. 3 is preparedness. 4th is response. And lastly is recovery after the incident, disaster, what have you. So prevention is the best medicine, right? Number 1, we want to keep bad stuff from happening. You teach kids not to play with matches. You wear a seatbelt when you drive. All those things we want to prevent accidents. So a lot of the things Corey was touching on and Bobby, things that you can do to prevent something. The smoking, human caused, yes, is a big component. So education, prevention. Number 1, the best fire is the fire that never starts. Number 2, mitigation. We talk about mitigation work. The county helps funnel federal and state monies to help offset the costs of mitigation for property owners. Several $1 million have come into the system through, we're the conduit and we help provide that. Usually up to 50% match in certain areas, depending on how that grant is written. So that's mitigation. Response, mitigation was, we know bad things are going to happen. Let's make them less bad. Response is, what do we do when bad stuff happens? We know bad things happen. Accidents happen, fires happen. We had the Elkhorn fire this year. We had a very active fire season early on because we didn't get our normal monsoonal rain in July. So we had a very dry July. We knew it was going to be dry because of the lack of snow. And sure enough, we had very active fire behavior. Fortunately, in Southwest Colorado, we had adequate resources. We threw a ton of air support. We set a record for the number of air tanker drops coming out of the Durango airport. You have an air base in Durango with aircraft. You've seen them flying overhead with helicopters with buckets. You've seen the air tankers with the pink underbellies flying to Stoner, Mesa, and all these other fires. You're very fortunate we are all very fortunate to have an air tanker base right here in Durango, centrally located for Southwest Colorado. So response and emergency management, we make sure that the first 24 to 48 hours of a fire goes smoothly. We send out evacuation notices. If the fire department gets on scene and they see this is going to be a major event, we need to get people out of harm's way. They turn to us. We send code red messages out to you like we did last week. Was that earlier this week? And number one, we want you to stay informed and sign up for those alerts so you can get out quickly. And then we have to provide a place for you to go. And we need to make sure the firefighters have some food for the first 24-hour period until the whole system kind of kicks into gear. So that's how we respond to emergencies. We do fire, flood, mud, and anything else that can and will happen in the area. Recovery is, trying to educate everybody to be prepared. Do those things with your irreplaceable documents and things to help rebuild your life if you do suffer a catastrophic event. So that's what we do in emergency management. We're more than happy to come up, do drills like we have, and coordinate grant funding for mitigation, whatever we can do to, again, do those 5 things to mitigate risk and protect the community. That's our mission. So I don't know if you have any questions for emergency management.
I have a question related. I did this in the board meeting yesterday. Raise your hand if you have the Code Red app set up on your phone. So you will be notified if we have an evacuation. Very good. Raise your hand if you have watch duty. Awesome. We've got a good crowd. Watch duty is the best way to stay aware of fires in the area. It's updated. It's recommended by the county.
It's a nonprofit. It's nationwide. I can zoom into California and see what happens there. They're getting the information for those fire responses from the official government sites, NCWeb, and all those things. So that's a great way to get a heads up on what's happening without having to listen to a scanner all the time.
Yeah.
And then, Code Red, we did notice we had when we drew our circle on the map and we sent out that Code Red test, your fire drill last week or this week, we noticed there was close to 700, I think, people in that circle that we did, and that was significantly more than we had in April and then in the past. So more people are signing up for Code Red. We want you to be stay informed, and so that's been successful. So that's great.
We'll be having future evacuation drills probably twice a year, just because it's hard to catch all owners on property at any given time. So thank you, Ward.
All right, thanks so much for having me here today. My name is Alex Graff. I work for Wildfire Adapted Partnership. I'll tell you a little bit about Wildfire Adapted Partnership, our organization, and our involvement in Tamarron Glacier. So we used to be called Firewise of Southwest Colorado. We're a local nonprofit, have been operating in the Four Corners, Durango area since 2003. Missionary Ridge Fire started off as solely a volunteer organization run by concerned residents wanting to be prepared for the next wildfire. Since then, we've grown. We formalized in 2018, turned into our own 501c3 with paid employees, very small organization serving Archuleta, La Plata, San Juan, Montezuma, Dolores counties with 5 folks. So a pretty big area. And what we focus on is everything before the fire, being prepared, education, and going after grant funding to help you offset the cost of wildfire mitigation. A lot of what I do is one-on-one site visits with homeowners and residents to help them prioritize what type of work they should be doing. And a lot of the work I've been involved with both Corey and Bobby has been helping prioritize, identify the areas that are ripe for wildfire mitigation, continued wildfire mitigation. Obviously, there's a history of that before, even just this last year. And also helping use the grant funds that we have to offset the cost of that, to reward you for the work that you're doing and hopefully make the dollars go a little bit further when it comes to mitigation. I just want to say, I'll keep this super brief, but I just want to say it's super, super impressive. All of the focus, everybody who I've worked with, mainly Bobby and Corey up here. It's super impressive the amount of attention in the past year that they've put into this. The amount of effort and dollars thrown at it is not insignificant, and it really makes a huge difference. I think for this Gamble Oak project, for that portion, when it comes to grant funding that we have secured, part of that grant funding that kind of Rob was talking about being funneled into this area, we were able to help offset the cost by, for that particular project, 50% of that part of the project at least. And that's the goal going forward. We have some grant funding that will continue to early next year. So we're hoping to help even more wherever we can with the next round of mitigation. The 2 things I kind of want to leave you with here, just to keep on your mind, is the next year, right? Wildfire mitigation is never a one and done thing. This is why part of this 10-year plan that Corey was talking about is so important. We've got to be thinking about this year after year. It's just part of living here. It's just part of our responsibilities here. Got to take a bite-sized piece every single year. So I encourage you to think about that on your own, right? As individuals, what can you do on your property on a very small scale? And then what can we do on a bigger scale? And then the other thing I want to leave you with is just the really cool part about this area, some of the stuff that Corey was talking about, State Forest Service, some of the bigger ranches here, Glacier, Tamarron, Rockwood. Fire doesn't respect property lines. It's not going to stop at the fence line. So everything that you do helps your neighbor. Everything that your neighbor does helps you. Really, the community, like the scale of it, is so important to look at. And it's really impressive to see all the great work that's been going on. And I'm here to support it in any way I can going forward. Happy to answer questions. Otherwise, I'll pass it on to Steve.
Hey, good morning. I've noticed the nice weather coming in today and the storm clouds up north, which is pretty cool. We were working just up at Twilight subdivision just up here, and a helicopter was flying over us with bags of cargo nets full of stuff for the fire guys. This is just 2 days ago. So fire is a big part of this here. I want to have an editorial comment, which is that the woman who runs the emergency management here, Shauna Lagarza, I worked with her when she was a hotshot suit with the San Juan Hotshots. She went on to run fire and aviation for the Forest Service out of Washington. She was the top, and she's retired and now working here. So you've, in my opinion, got the best of the best right here in the county. Very lucky to have her as part of our solution. I retired after a 32-year fire career, federal guy. I was an FMO up at Mesa Verde and about 11 national parks around here. I used to be the division soup in charge of birding for a Type 1 team out in Oregon that came up to Mesa Verde, went all over the country. So I'll just be stark. I've seen about 3,000 to 4,000 homes that have burned up in my career, and I missed a lot of the big fires in California. I went to a few of them. And so when I retired in 2017, my goal is just to try and help my community. Gives me a bit of purpose in my twilight years here. So I will echo that you guys need to kind of watch out for each other. Fire and bugs are indicative of long-term droughts. And if you see red needle trees coming your way, if you see a neighbor has it, it needs to be brought up to your managers or need to deal with it ASAP, because those bugs, one thing they like to do is move around to your neighbor's trees. And with fire, the calculation is very simple. It's BTUs per square foot. So what we try to do is lower the amount of heat per square foot of treatment. And you can look around here, you can say, oh, that looks thick. Well, there's more BTUs per square foot. And if you have more BTUs, it requires more firefighters, requires more retardant, requires more moisture, everything to put that fire out. And lastly, before we got here 150, 160 years ago, these ponderosa forests were wide open sylvan areas that had about 20 or 30 trees per acre. And that's everything from little trees to big trees. And so the thicker and all the oak under there was not here as part of a frequent fire regime, that was here as part of nature. So when we have had various influences, the forests have thickened up. We're just trying to return it to a more natural setting, and those trees benefit. So if we do work around the golf course and stuff, and you see it opening up, those trees that are left, their growth rings are going to expand. They're going to have a lot more water, a lot more nutrients. They're a lot stronger, and they do better to fight off the bugs, and they are better to the fire can't move through. So it's a really simple prescription, costs some money, but it's worth it. Everybody will be better.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys, for coming. Anybody got questions?
Yes.
Three beetles, all of them, different beetles, I understood the ponderosa before.
I'm gonna let Steve speak to that.
So the beetles are specific to a certain species of trees. For example, Pinyon has Ips beetles. So does ponderosa. The ponderosa Ips beetle is particular to that ponderosa. There's some spruce budworms that focus on spruce. All the trees here are susceptible to pests. The physiological dynamic is pretty cool. It's really simple. If you have more moisture, they produce more sap. If they have more sap, when the bugs burrow in, they get killed by the sap. When they have less sap, the bugs, I believe there's a genetic code where they fluoresce and they say, well, let's go, because they used to have a drought every 15, 20 years, and those bugs would move around during that period, but then the rain would come and they'd go back hunched up into the next drought. With more and more and more dry periods now, every tree, from poplar to aspen to cottonwood to ponderosa, they all are susceptible. I'm also I have an arborist, and I'm an arborist trainee. If I would ever get my act together and take my test, I'd be an arborist. So we'll see if I do that or not.
Any other questions? All right, really appreciate you guys coming in.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, Joe Carey has some financial information to talk about.
Whoops, we have to do that.
Oh, did it go off again?
Okay. Can you put my slides up here?
Maybe.
We're, for
Possibly.
whatever reason, we're
We
having a
used to.
technical glitch and they're not showing up there. I don't know why, Joe. I don't.
But they're
know.
on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
Just they're not showing up there. There's not much I can do.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand what the technical glitch is. I've been working on this during the whole meeting and haven't been able to figure this out.
Didn't one of the guys help you out?
Rob.
Yeah, but
We need Carlos.
Carlos, can you if you can hear us, can you see the financials on the screen right now?
If he shares a screen, then we can.
Yeah, I can see the financials.
Can he share his screen?
We don't have the Zoom up on our TV.
That's the problem, is the connection to this. And Honest to God, I have no idea why.
John Mills is-
John's coming to save the day.
Hey, John. Up there? Yeah. Knock yourself up. Yes, you do.
Can you still see it, Carlos?
Let me do that.
There we go, Joe.
You got it. We got it.
Yeah, they're still up.
Okay,
And we've got him too.
You're the best.
all right, so just,
But now I've got to be able to scroll.
But you should, you're on there, you just have, it's like second monitor. So you just need to.
Yeah, but we don't see the sheet.
You have to watch it.
Use your mouse over there, Gary.
Yeah, you can just scroll, use your scroll.
It's a second monitor.
Scroll up and down.
Mhm.
So just, yeah, you do this.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want me to do it?
Sure, knock yourself out.
Go ahead, Joe.
thanks, John.
Not only find.
Scroll it down a little bit more, John.
Yeah.
So I can get the, yeah, right to there. Okay.
Zoom it out a little.
All right. So I call this the 10,000 foot view. Any of you that were at the board meeting yesterday, you got a detailed financial report, went through the whole financial report. This is just a summary. So looking at our cash accounts, our revenues, wait a minute, that's not the, I need you to go back down again. Go back up again. Oh, to the prior screen.
Oh, this is the first.
We're missing the
balance sheet.
balance sheet information.
See what I mean? Yeah.
That's good. This is what it's supposed to be. Yes,
I thought you had it all in one file earlier.
and that's the file that.
All right, we're gonna make this easy. I've got the balance sheet information in front of me, and I'll state that our current assets versus our current liabilities were about $200,000 to the plus. So we have a very good cash flow situation. So now we'll move to the income statement. All right. So this is these are the major components of our operating accounts. Top line is revenue. We're just slightly under plan on revenue. Administrative expenses are a bit over plan, and that's mostly because our insurance payments are front loaded. So right now, August and September, we have no insurance payments, so that's going to catch up and that'll get back to plan and probably be even better than plan. Our operations is a little over budget. We've been spending a lot of money on all the things you've been hearing about today. And so we're a bit over plan on operations spending the budget. And this is year-to-date budget. That's not the full budget. So that budget, that's 7 months worth of the budget. Personnel expenses are a bit under plan. It's good there. Utilities are a little over plan. Reason for that is we tend to use a lot more water in the summertime because we're irrigating our landscape. That'll catch up a little bit and get back towards normal towards the end of the year. Also, the La Plata Electric Company surprised us with an 8% rate increase. So there's that in there as well. Capital projects, we've deferred some things to save a little money into next year. And so we're a little bit under plan there. The net income line doesn't look good. $327,000 to the negative. However, the insurance, not having to make insurance payments, our monthly insurance payments for 9 months of the year are $115,000 per month. So not having to pay that for August and September is going to help a lot and bring that back more towards normal. Okay, scroll down. This is just a snapshot of our permanent reserves. Yeah, stop right there. Okay. So that net income line should read current balance or something like that. That $232,000 is our current amount in our permanent reserves. That's come down quite a bit in the last couple of years, mostly because of our 2023 insurance costs. We took about a $300,000 hit that year. And so one of the things we need to make a priority, we've talked about maybe we'll save some money on insurance this year, coming year in 2026. But one of the things we really need to make a priority in is rebuilding reserves. So while over the last couple of years, we haven't contributed any just discretionary funds into reserves. You can see the rental revenues, the interest income, the capital contributions from sales. Those contribute to reserves every year, but those are small amounts. We need to contribute bigger amounts to get our reserves back up to where we had it. We were at 3 years ago, we were at about $750,000, and you can see where we are now. So we got some work to do. Okay, one of the things we like to do in this presentation, these annual meetings, is go ahead and scroll down some more. Okay, so that's just a brief look at our annual budget. Our annual budget for 2025 is right at $3.7 million. And you can see where we're spending the money. Insurance, Shadia mentioned that a lot of her accounts, insurance is the second or third item. For us, it's the first. Yeah, $1.178 million for 2024, 2025 insurance. Our insurance renews on October 15th of every year, so we're crossing over 2 years. Utilities is one of the big ones. Maintenance and operations is one of the big ones. Go ahead and scroll down some more. Okay, stop right a little bit more. Right, okay. So this little pie chart is something we've kind of like to give at the annual meetings, and it kind of gives you an idea of where we're spending our money overall. As you can see, the green, the light green on the upper left, that's insurance. The dark blue on the upper right is utilities, and the dark green towards the bottom is maintenance and operations. So those are the three main areas where we're spending our money. And I thought I'd do something a little different. Scroll down to the next pie chart. This is where we were in 2023 before the insurance business hit. So now the lighter blue item, the lighter blue section in the upper right, that was utilities. That was our number one spending item 2 years ago. Then maintenance and operation is dark green at the bottom. And then personnel was the pink. And so you can see where the whole paradigm of how we spend our money has changed in just 2 years. So that's all I had. Anybody got any questions? Good.
Thanks, Joe.
Oh, yeah. And boy, you don't get that too close, it's really loud. So I'm going to turn this over to Michelle Sainio. She works for, what's the accounting firm now?
MBE.
MBE. Used to be Frederickson Zink, and now it's, yeah. So Michelle is going to talk about our annual audit. So she's going to talk about the audit that is being conducted right now for last year, for 2024.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. I don't know if you all know me. I've been around every year, I think. So I've been with Frederick Zink and Associates for almost 18 years. We merged with MBE CPAs, which is one of our MAP partners, in September of last year. So it's been 1 year with the merger. We still do a lot of work locally here in Durango, and Tamarron is one client that we have that we work with. Elisa, we've worked with many years, and Joe. This year, we've been engaged to do an annual audit for you all, a financial statement audit. And through that process, we work with Elisa pretty closely to understand a lot of the procedures and processes, what could go wrong. And then we devise and determine the plan for the audit based around what risk could happen. And based on that, we then do the audit. Through that process, we ask Elisa for a lot of information, so it takes for a lot of time to pull a lot of the samples. We select a sample of transactions, tie it out to the support, confirmations to the bank. we do trust Elisa, but as an auditor, we are skeptical. So we are always asking why, show me, just don't tell me. And as always, they've been very kind and patient and have given us everything that we need in this process. This process tends to take at least 2 to 3 months, and it's taking longer and longer, a little bit more because the standards are requiring more from us. So we do not have an audit for you all to look at today. What that means is at the November meeting, I believe we'll be available to present a draft at that time or a final. But what happens is that goes to Elisa and Joe to review first, and then it goes to the board. So that's kind of our process from an audit standpoint. It is in accordance with the standards. We're independent, and we report to the board. The board hires us, even though we work closely with Elisa. So we report back to her and the whole board. That's all I have on the audit. Would you like me to go over the ballot?
We'll do that in a little bit.
In a little bit. Okay. Are there any questions you all have for me? No. Okay.
Thanks, Nicole. Keep it on. Okay, we have a quick update from Rules and Regs from Tricia Layfield, who heads our committee.
I'm not used to talking to crowds or using a microphone, so please forgive me.
You're doing great, Tricia.
I'm Tricia Layfield. I've worked on Rules and Regs for 2 years now. But really recently, since last year, we really started trying to enforce the rules that we have. And before we started trying to look at possibly new changes. The Rules and Regulations Committee, we would like to tell you about important updates regarding tracking and enforcement of Tamarron's rules and regulations. As of June 8th, 2024, the Rules and Regulations Committee began formally tracking reported violations with Tamarron. Homeowners have since been notified of violations in accordance with our existing policy. In July of 2024, the Taco Board voted to revamp our enforcement policy to align with recent state law revisions. These changes include enhanced documentation requirements, a structured violation tracking system, clear guidelines for communicating violations, and use of certified mail when a violation may result in a fine. Our committee has worked diligently to learn the new legal requirements, restructure our internal processes, and enter existing violations into our new software Buildium. We appreciate your patience during this transition. Please note the Rules and Regulations Committee does not actively search for violations. However, when a violation occurs, or is reported by an owner, we are obligated to follow up and address the matter in accordance with our policies. The Rules and Regulations Committee is actively reviewing all rules and regulations and making recommendations where appropriate. Please know any of these recommendations or suggestions have to be approved by the board. Our goal in the process is to enhance Tamarron property and ensure that we can all live harmoniously in our beautiful community. The most common violations to the association includes pets being off leash. This is a big one. And regardless of what the county rule is, Taco's rule is all pets have to be on leash on Taco property. Owners not picking up their pet waste. That's also another issue. Pets that are left unattended on decks that bark continuously. That's a big problem. Noise complaints. Renters with pets, except where the law allows. Unkept units. Renters who are unaware or do not follow Tamarron's rules and regulations. And then parking. We understand that it may seem like a long time, to resolve reported violations. However, the association is legally required to follow all procedures in the Colorado Common Interest Ownership Act. We kindly ask all owners to review the current rules and regulations to stay informed of what is and is not permitted. If you rent your unit, it is your responsibility to ensure your property manager is familiar with all Tamarron's rules and regulations, and that all renters are notified of them prior to their arrival. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please log them in the resident center in Beldium. If you have any questions of how to do this, Carlos has sent out an email with screenshots. But if for some reason you're unable to go back to that email, you're welcome to contact Carlos or myself. Hey, sorry, I can't get my last page. Thank you for your attention to these important matters and helping us preserve the quality and enjoyment of Tamarron. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I have a unit up in High Point and where the sidewalk comes out of the building. Are we not supposed to park in front of that sidewalk? It seems to me that if some emergency were to occur, somebody's car is sitting there.
It would be a common courtesy not to park in.
It's not in
No,
the rules that
it's
we
not in
don't
the
block
rules.
sidewalk entries, but it's a courtesy. And I would say even a bigger problem that I've seen up at High Point is somebody who pulls their truck halfway over the grass line and runs over sprinkler heads and parks in the grass. You know, that's, if we knew who drove that truck, we'd be giving them a notice, but no, there's no rule about access way to sidewalks.
Could there be?
Well, it's something we could consider. And the tricky thing is enforcing that. If you see a car, whose is it? It's hard to find. Our committee of 4 women, we're not going to go door to door and confront people and ask if that's their car and they're blocking the sidewalk. You know, so for that to come to us, somebody would have to report it and say, I saw the driver go into unit 580 and they are blocking the sidewalk. Some things are great ideas and common courtesies, but tricky to manage. Currently, I agree, that would be a common courtesy.
You know, I see red curbs in town.
Mhm.
That a red dash in front of that might be helpful.
Could be
I don't
helpful.
think that'd be terribly expensive though. And it's only a problem like July and August.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion. If you want to email that to us, we could consider it.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
The lodge, as you walk the pathway to the north end, that walkway has those lines painted there. Could that not be done in front of those entrances?
It could be considered. I don't know what all would go into that.
There was
but we
a,
could consider it.
there was a decision made years ago that there wouldn't be any lines, any marking lines in the outlying areas, but that doesn't mean that can't be
Where it really
changed.
affects me was when I come to town in July, I went downtown, bought a bunch of groceries, got my luggage to do. And there's no way to get up without, you know.
Going in the grass.
Going in the grass, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Good job. Okay, everybody, we are now at the election part of our meeting. The board has a rotating term of 3 years. And depending on the cycle, there will either be 2 or 3 open seats. This year, there were 2. Any interested candidates have to post their interest and their letter of interest, resume information by the end of June. I think this year is like June 28th. I think it's the last business day of June. And every unit gets 1 vote. Almost all units are now voting electronically. I think, Gary, you said we had two paper ballots.
That's awesome.
And so I need to ask, are there any nominations from the floor for the open positions? No. Last call for ballots. Did anybody bring a paper ballot with them that needs to be dropped into the box? No. Okay, then we have closed this election. And Michelle, if you could give us the results.
Thank you, everyone. The results are Tricia Layfield and Scott Gillen both have been voted onto the board of directors.
Thank you.
We've had a lot of discussion today, Q&A. Did anybody have any more questions for us? Great,
I'd like to thank the board for the great job you've done, because that all was up to them. We were there this morning, it wouldn't have happened without all of you, and we want to double your salaries, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to add a special thanks to Mark Paliza, who is rolling off the board. Mark has been a workhorse for 3 years, a true workhorse. He spearheaded and took over the finish line, the whole outline complex roof project, starting with getting an architectural engineering firm to advise us on how to outline the project through the work and the follow-up, and that was tremendous. And Mark also did all the heavy lifting on the upgrade to our fire safety system, which is crucial to the property. It's such a big project. It's going over 4 years. So Mark, we just want to thank you very much. Do you have any last words?
Yeah.
Yes.
Change this. Be careful of the bears and. Everyone, thanks so much for being here. It means so much to see owners and those of you I've met and haven't met. If I haven't met you, I look forward to doing so. Hold on, I think I'm getting a note. Oh, you announced that. I'm not a golfer, so I'm kind of out of touch with the golf course.
Just reminding all the golfers that are playing in the tournament we hope to have tomorrow. The pairings party is tonight at 5 o'clock at Cliffside, and all owners are welcome to attend that. Come and join the party.
Thanks, Jeff. And final thanks to our staff and our maintenance team who have worked so hard all year. They've kept this meeting together. I did skip over Buildium just because y'all heard me talk about it at the board meeting, but just know if you have any problems while we're moving forward with the software, contact Carlos. He's an expert now, and he's always happy to help. Thanks, everybody.
Stacy, and you need to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We need a motion to adjourn.
That's right, we do.
And second? Okay.
All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
As we're walking out the door. Thank you.
2 minutes left.
What is your name?
I want to say hi.